Welcome in, everybody. Another award-winning edition of Game Changers.
Taking over the big man seat right there, Steve Goldstein.
There's a lot of controversy. What's gone on, why I'm in this chair. Are we at liberty to discuss it?
Cunio spit the bit. I don't think he likes doing the show anymore. Maybe it's something I said.
Mike Cunio, or Mike Cunio may be on assignment. It may be as simple as that. We'll know next week.
Cunio goes on assignment? I thought he just sat in this building and didn't do anything. Holy criminy. I didn't put him out. Okay, let's move on.
So we're going to have a couple of guests on Game Changers today. We'll talk some Heat and
so
Panthers.
We get a 2-for-1.
That's it.
You give up Cunio, you get 2 back. There you go.
Don't get too used to it, Bo Camper. Let's get into the Miami Dolphins. First of all, this week, a players' vote released. The Dolphins, basically the #1 franchise for players in the NFL. Stephen Ross ranked #1. The training staff ranked #1. The way they feed the players, the facilities they've got. What do you make of all of it? That the players love the Dolphins.
I would have to agree. I mean, I've been around to a lot of the facilities and a lot of new facilities around in this league, but nothing matches the Dolphins. And look at what Tom Garfinkel has done in that stadium. Mr. Ross hired him to fill up all that property he had around the stadium. The other guy was trying to get a water park somewhere in the corner over there.
I think it would have been a great idea, the water park.
Tom brings in the Miami Tennis Open.
Yeah, Miami Open.
He gets F1 in here. He gets all these soccer games, all these concerts. I think they've done a fantastic job. And the way they run this organization, this football, I get it from the lowest guy on the payroll to the top guy on the payroll. Every time I've been around this organization with Mr. Ross, they are all hustlers. They're no one slacking on jobs in that organization, and I think a lot of it has to do with the higher-ups, Stephen Ross, Tom Garfinkel, and we all always talk about the culture of the team as a playing team. The culture of this organization is 100% steadfast on giving Stephen Ross the best prospect or the best property that he can have, and I think they've done a hell of a job with it.
Stephen Ross, #1 owner, and then everybody else got A's across the board, which means you're top 5, top 7 from.
We used to fly on planes where the rookies on our first flight, the rookies had to stand up in the aisle when we're taking off and landing because no one would let them sit in the middle seat.
Not anymore.
These guys, they got 1,000 first-class seats in there. They're laying back. They got video monitors. It's changed a little bit, so I think they're in pretty good stead. Let's put it that way.
All right, let's get into Tua Tagovailoa. Obviously, it's all anybody ever talks about with him. Chris Grier comes out with a statement. Mike McDaniel's come out. We love Tua. We're confident in him. Chris Grier did say this one may take a little bit of time. So people are clear. There's still a year left on his contract, that 5th year that they opted in last year. Bo, what do you think about a long-term deal for Tua? If it gets done, when it gets done, do we think maybe there's a chance they let him play out that 5th year? I don't think so. I think they lock something in before.
Here's what I think. In my mind, I think the way that the track that they should take, and it kind of falls in line with Chris Grier saying this may take some time. My thought on Tua is I think everybody, I agree that Tua improved last year. He didn't get hurt. He played 17 games. He did all that stuff.
It was an incredible improvement.
Good, incredible improvement.
Because this time last year, a lot of people thought they were crazy for picking up the 5th year.
Now what he lacks is the ability to close out games and win them late in the season, right?
Yep.
So why don't you do this? Let me go. Play 8 games. Let's play 8 games this season. At that point, we'll begin negotiations on the contract based on how you're playing.
Negotiations.
And if you've been able to improve on what you've done, you've got you can't have a guy that plays 3 quarters like he's the best quarterback in the league, and then doesn't have he has no pelts on his belt when it comes to the 4th quarter wins. He just doesn't.
But you're really going to know that after 8 games, or do you need to see December football on the road?
We were waiting for 8 games to see if he wasn't going to get hurt, and he didn't. He made it through the whole season. So if he's gone back and worked on his weaknesses, which is the 4th quarter, then if we see the improvement in weeks 1 to 8, boom, we'll give you the big contract. That's just what I would do from a business standpoint.
Now, Mike McDaniel, obviously, the first phone call, people remember 2 years ago when he got the job on the plane. Tua, you're my guy. The love for him. These 2 guys together.
They love each other.
They have grown.
You know what, Goldie? It ain't his decision.
But he's a factor.
He's a factor, but it's not his decision ultimately.
Now let me ask you this: if they go the route that you say, how does the player react? Does the player say, "Hey, last offseason, I did all the work.
There's all the argument.
I played the full season. I led you to the playoffs." And now you're telling me that you're not going to give me the deal?
Not only that, but
do you want a player that's not happy?
This is the dilemma they're in. This is what's his agent going to say? Oh, he was a starter in the Pro Bowl. Hey, he was ranked #1 in all these passing categories.
And I know what you're going to say.
Got all these things right here.
Right.
That deserves the money. Well, yeah, but what does he do? Let's pull out Germany.
The last
Let's
3
pull
games.
out Kansas City and Germany. Let's pull out Buffalo. Let's pull out Kansas City this year.
Yeah.
And you can go back to a number of other games that it didn't happen. So look, this is a big decision. The decision is: are you going to pay him $40 million, or are you going to pay him somewhere around the $50 million plus?
Big
range?
Difference.
Big difference in that.
That might mean keeping Christian Wilkins and Tua, or only Tua.
However,
big difference.
Look, the salary cap just went up 13%, the biggest jump they've ever had in the salary cap era. So you can afford Christian Wilkins now. You could probably give Tua a few more ducats out there. So I'm not worried about the salary cap. I'm worried about, can these guys play, and the guy that can play. You know for a fact this guy can play in Christian Wilkins. Get him signed up, please.
I know Tua can play too.
Yeah, I know he can play. I know he can play. You want another year like this where, we look, last year we had 0 for 5 in December.
I know.
Here we had
got a little better.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to move on.
We didn't get any further, did we?
We did not get any further. Lamar, Josh Allen, and then Mahomes, all losses. Panthers talk, Heat talk. We're going to have finals again in South Florida.
I went to Panther game the other day.
Nice. It was nice to see you. You didn't let me know you go, Bo. Where's the love, brother? We're coming right back.
Well, because I didn't think you'd give me a free beer.
Send me the text message, man. Tell me you're there.
Game Changers is sponsored by your Volkswagen dealers of South Florida. Shop your 7 passenger favorites at VWFlorida.com.
Game Changers rolling on. Bo Camper, Goldstein, Cunha. He's not here. So what do? We bring in the big hitters. Alejandro Solana of the Miami Heat.
We're going close right to the guys that are working with the teams and
the Heat
Alejandro
Radio Network.
Solana, a.k.a. One Stitch.
What else you gonna? One Stitch.
Yeah.
Can you take us inside that, Solana?
So he had a cartilage injury a couple years ago, right? You go ahead.
Remember that,
go ahead and say. I don't need to say it.
Go ahead, Solana.
I mean, don't sell me short there, Bo. I tore my ACL and I had to have a follow-up injury on the cartilage and on the meniscus. And 3 days after my surgery, Goldie, I'm on the plane traveling with the Dolphins up to cold Baltimore. But for some reason, I don't get bonus points for that. It's just the nickname that comes with it from Bo and Joe, One Stitch.
I said,
Appreciate your side of it, Solana. Let's get the real side of it.
I said, Solana, what happened? He said, I tore a cartilage.
Yeah.
I go, really? I go, yeah. I go, how many stitches they put in there? They only need to put 1 stitch in there. I said, 1 stitch? That's not an operation. That's a Band-Aid.
Solana, take it.
So in my mind, he's 1 stitch.
It is a great story, and it is a great nickname, so you should just stick with that. All right, let's get into the Heat, because this team has been about as amazing as you claiming you had a big surgery with 1 stitch. 31 different starting lineups, teams starting to write them off, people trying to say, hey, they're going to be in the play-in round. All of a sudden, bunch of wins in a row, 10 out of 12, 5 in a row going into Denver for that big finals rematch. How have they done it? How have they recovered here? And now, actually, Solana, they got a shot for home court in the first round.
Yeah, what were we talking about? They have to avoid the play-in tournament once again this season, right? And I understand. They set the precedent last year. Make it as the 8th seed, even though they were 3 minutes away from elimination, and go to the NBA Finals. But, Goldie, Bo, you don't want to be in that situation again this year. You're putting a lot of pressure on yourself to have to take out some of the top teams in the NBA. And just when the Heat are starting to get counted out, everybody's saying after that 7-game losing skid, they're not going to be able to get back to that level. Well, here they are. They win 9 of 11 straight, and it's the wins on the road, 2 prior to the All-Star break. If I would have told you they had a stretch at Milwaukee, at Philadelphia, at New Orleans, at Sacramento, at Portland, and then at Denver, and Jimmy Butler was going to miss half of those games, and the Heat would have gone into that last game at Denver for the finals rematch, 5-0 on the road, and make it 6-0 overall in their past 6 road games up until that point, you would have had me tested for drugs. You would have had my 1 stitch tested for drugs, and that's exactly what the Heat accomplished.
So how much of this is everyone feeling like Jimmy's coming back to Jimmy time at this point of the season. He's kind of been in and out of the lineup and didn't play here, didn't play there. And when he played sometimes, wasn't playing like playoff Jimmy. But it seems like in the last few games, certainly, playoff Jimmy is back a little bit. Is that as much as that? And also I like the fact that the young guys, Hawkes and those guys, they're getting a lot of playing time. They're going to be value in this stretch run. So it's starting to feel, this season is starting to feel much like it was last season, opposed to the Panthers that are sitting on the top of the heap and looking down at everyone else. But it's kind of building up much like we did last year, right?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Bo. Last year, the Miami Heat, they were just middling around average all season long. And earlier this year, they went on a 7-game win streak, their longest of the season. But they did it with 3-point shooting. And outside of Tyler Hero, they were pretty much healthy, right? This time around, it's been totally different. They haven't been healthy. And the one silver lining of those 31 starting lineups that Goldie mentioned, which is already more than the Heat have ever had in an 82-game regular season, is that guys like Hawkes have had that playing experience. And at one point this season, he led the NBA, not just the Heat, he led the NBA in fourth quarter minutes. Coach Spoelstra trusting young guys and trusting some of the guys that you wouldn't think, Hero, Butler, and Jimmy, and now Terry Rozier, to close out ball games. But it has all to do with Jimmy Butler. When he's been available in his last 9 games, he scored 20 or more in 8 of those 9. And by the way, the only one he didn't have 20 or more, he had a triple-double against the San Antonio Spurs. He took to social media after he was suspended, that little scuffle with the New Orleans Pelicans right out of the All-Star break, and he posted, quote, "It's that time." Jimmy Butler's playing like it's that time. He's been a leader on and off the court, and truthfully, he's dominating right now, not just on the offensive side, but on the defensive side also.
All right, look, we just had Eric Spoelstra on the screen here. What about Eric Spoelstra and the way he's managed this team, the unevenness that they had early on, and it seems like he's finding some smooth water now. How did he get them through that period of time?
It's fascinating. And, I know you guys were talking about Christian Wilkins and Tua earlier. Who's going to get that bag? Well, there's a reason why Coach Spoelstra got that bag earlier this year. I mean, he really is the best head coach in the NBA.
He got it later, too, but that's another story.
But he really is the best head coach in the NBA because, man, just talk about this stretch where you lose 7 straight, then you win 9 of your next 11, and your best players are out. The Heat haven't been stable all season long. He's maximizing Jaime Hawkes Jr. I know a lot was made about not landing Damian Lillard via trade, but, some might argue it's been a blessing in disguise because you've seen guys like Duncan Robinson reinvent himself, flourish right now with the Miami Heat. I mean, they have an above 500 with Duncan Robinson record in the starting lineup. So, we'll probably get to Duncan or Tyler in the starting lineup at some point when we near the playoffs. But they're in a position now where, again, it's no longer avoid the play-in tournament. It's, hey, home court advantage is an absolute possibility. And I think you have to credit head coach Eric Spoelstra. Look at that Kings game where you go in with a depleted roster. You're missing 8 guys, including 2 of your 3 best players. And you beat the Sacramento Kings, one of the hottest teams in the Western Conference, the 5 seed at that point. You only accomplished that with a head coach who loves those types of challenges.
It has been fun to watch. The last thing the Celtics want to see is the Miami Heat in the second round if they get up to the 4 spot. Solana, we appreciate it, brother. We'll see you soon, pal.
Take care.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
See you, One Stitch.
Congratulations on your engagement.
One Stitch? Really?
One Stitch.
All right. When we come back, we're going to talk a little hockey. Randy Moller is going to join us here on Game Changers. Stay right with us. We're back on this edition of Game Changers. Bo Camper, Steve Goldstein, Mike Cunio out this week. We'll see if he returns next week.
I wouldn't hold your breath.
We'll see what happens. Yeah. We turn the attention to the ice where the Florida Panthers are having this incredible hockey season. Wow. Randy Moller joined. Who's got the better hair, Moller or Bo Camper?
They look very similar. I think you could take our hair and switch it, and we would look exactly the same.
You guys look like twins, really.
Yeah, but Muller's in that age group of me. He's in that same age group.
But you know what? I can't stop the hair growing out of my ears or my nose. So
I'm thinking about cutting the sides off and just growing a beard and being that guy. Right?
That's it.
New look.
Pretty much right here.
There it is, the Goldie. I'm going to call it the Goldie.
You should call it the Goldie. Nice. Moles, let's get into hockey. We've been watching this team, every other night since October. Incredible commitment, the hard-nosed way they play. What do you make of this team's defense, the way they shut teams down, and how that's going to translate into the Stanley Cup playoffs?
Well, Goldie, there's no doubt. There's so many components in the success of the Panthers have had so far this season, and they really took off in November. And in my mind, they've been the best team in the NHL, the most consistent. The components are, it starts with coaching. And Paul Maurice, he has a game plan and his coaching staff that these players not only accept, but they thrive and they enjoy playing this style. The pace, the aggressiveness, and the execution has led them to be the fastest team in the league, the most aggressive team. They lead in puck possession. And, they're one of the most exciting teams to play because they're one of the most penalized teams in the NHL. And then you go right through the lineup. The goaltending has been so solid that Sergei Bobrovsky and Stolarz have really switched back and forth. I think Bob's won, 8 of his last 9, and he hasn't given up more than 2 goals in his last 9 games. Stolarz has come in. He's accepted his role as a backup, plays every 3 or 4 games, and when he comes in, he does the job. It doesn't matter who the Panthers are playing against. They're not playing against any pity-pat teams. He goes up against some of the top teams as well. They don't care where they Goldie knows they don't care where they end up in the standings. Yeah, they'd like to win the division. I don't think they care about winning the President's Cup for the most points. But when that second week in April, when the playoffs start, whoever they're playing against, that they can, if needed, to be able to ramp their game up another level in order to be successful. It's all about the big prize now. They were so close last year and got to the finals. Now they can see what that cup looks like. They can taste it. And I can tell you what, the leadership on this team, the way that they go about their business, they've got to be one of the favorites going into the playoffs.
Hey, Randy, let's talk a little bit about Paul Maurice. Tough guy coach, I would say, right? Tough guy coach for this team. Now, let me finish. Tough guy coach. And so I went to the game on Saturday, kind of lethargic in the first period, didn't get much going. Second period, a little bit fire, and then all of a sudden in the third period, they were peppering the net, and you come out and you win the game in overtime. I left there and I went to my house, and I turned on Miracle, and I watched Miracle on Ice. And the reason I watched it, because I felt like I watched a team on the ice that was so tight and so close. Is that the situation with this team?
Well, I think I wouldn't consider Paul Maurice a tough coach in like a John Tortorella or some of the old coaches. I think he's such an intelligent person and coach. He understands the personnel that he has, and he knows what's buttons to push. Some guys maybe need a little bit of a boot in the backside. Other guys, a pat on the back if they're not going. But I think the way that he gets his message across, and he's proven, and the team is proven, and Matthew Tkachuk was talking about it recently after another win. He says, we know how to play, we love how we play, and it's in this room. We don't need a lot of pushing and that from the coaches in order to understand what success means at a team level.
All right, Randy, listen, we appreciate it. We'll catch up with you soon. Of course, we'll see you soon. And I told Beaucamper next time he comes, he needs to send a text message and tell us he's in the building.
I was going to send him a text message,
happened?
but what's he going to do? You think he's going to send me a free beer or something, Randy?
No.
You think he's going to move me up to some better seats? No. So why would I text him?
Well, and the other thing, too, still, I think, Kim, I think you still have your ban from coming up to the press box, too. But that's a conversation for another day.
I think that's off as of yesterday.
All right, Moles, we'll see you, buddy.
On, guys.
Thank you. Randy Moller joining us, talking a little Panthers hockey. We're coming back with more of Game Changers.
Now I can move freely around that stadium.
The big question of the show is coming up next.
Uh-oh. I want to hear it.
The hits keep on coming here on Game Changers. The topic of the week, Bo, it seems like around all sports, is court storming. For that,
Oh.
we go to our man Leo Gomez.
Leo Gomez. he's
Hello,
working.
Leo.
This is the one day a week he works.
This is the one day. He comes in, he prepares for this.
And then he leaves.
What's up, Leo?
What's going on? Hey, listen, we got about a couple minutes. How's my hair look, Bo?
It looks
You had more hair than most of the guests on the show
Cut
today.
some of it off and give it to me. I'll have it glued on when by the time I get home.
There you go. All right, so we got about a minute. So storming the court used to be such a thing, but now the Duke player got hurt. Caitlin Clark got into it with one of the fans.
Yeah.
Why has this become such an issue? You remember the famous Hank Aaron home run?
Yeah.
Chris Chambliss we were talking about in the office. What's going on in sports where fans can't be fans?
Yeah, no, everyone's soft. All the athletes are soft when it comes to
Everyone's
everything.
soft. Come on.
No. There's just, you used to storm this court, and the Chris Chambliss thing. He beat his way. He beat his way to touch that plate after that home run. He beat down some people.
But should a player have to do that?
No, they shouldn't have to do it. Here's my concern. You had the Caitlin girl got brushed and she went down.
She got bumped.
And then Filipowski went down and got hurt.
Went down and hurt
a little bit.
Yeah.
We got to stop it all. We can't do that anymore.
Right.
No, that's what's going to happen. It's going to go to the extreme. They're going to put fences up around the net like soccer in whatever country they do where they can't let you in the field. I mean, come on now. They're college kids. It's a tradition in college basketball. You know that if you're one of those players. If I'm one of those players,
what
if
would
I'm
you do?
Filipowski and we lost on an opponent's home court,
You know they're coming. What do you do?
I'm going to be prepared.
You're going to be prepared.
I'm going to at least have but I'm going to at least have my eyes on I'm going to have my head on a swivel and find a way out.
Here's my thought on it. Number one, I think it happens a little bit too often. It used to be saved for like the huge wins. It's happening too often. Number two, I know this may not be realistic. You have security around the court.
Yeah.
It takes 30 to 45
you ever seen those
seconds.
security?
Well, they got to get better security around the court. You hold the people back. You let the guys that got to get off, and then let everybody have it.
So I was at a game one time, and
You
the
split
security guy in
difference.
front of me weighed 350 pounds. He was 5'2".
All right,
what was he
whatever.
going to do? What's he going to do?
New security. We'll see you next time on Game Changers. Don't storm the court.
Storm the court whenever you want.
Storm the studio.
Go out there. Just stay away from the players. That's all.